But also, Hinault actually really, there's a lot of, you know, maybe not clarity on my relation with him. When I turned pro, I was 18 years old when I got offered a pro contract for Renault. Turned 19 a month later. In November of 1980, Hino and Sir Girard flew to Reno, Nevada, and spent 3 days with me. I went running with Hino, did a little cyclocross with him. He was an incredible person, and he was a perfect leader for the team. Honestly, he really broke the chain of the traditional one leader, worker bees behind him. If you watch any Merc, everybody dedicated everything to him. And Renault, we had such good talent that we raced at the moment. If whoever was the best at that moment would be the leader. And it was really team strategy. It was a great way to race because Hinault wasn't this egomaniac who insisted on winning every race. He helped riders win races. And so knowing that, he was truly, he was a hero, but I admired him as a person. And he would stick to his words. If he said he's going to split the prize money, he was going to do this or do that, he would do it. And so the difficult thing was going to him in 85. And it's still, he was the same person in 85. He didn't try to keep me from winning the Tour. Coakley and Capie did. And when I had 4 or 5 minutes on him in the stage in Luz Ardidan, I don't think Hinault was yelling at Coakley.
Was that the day with Roach?
Yeah, day with Roach. And I don't think he was telling Coakley to go tell me to stop because he wants to win the Tour. But Coakley and Capie, that was their goal, to win the Tour de France. And Coakley, the team lied to me, basically said he's 45 seconds behind me. I waited minutes and he still didn't show up, and he was still 2 minutes behind me. So I was upset at the team, not at Hinault at all. And Hinault said he realized he won the Tour that year. He's going to work for me the next year. And
but help me understand the tactics there, Greg, because it's 1985, Hinault wins the Tour for his 5th and final time, and you're second on GC. We don't really see that anymore. We see teams set up, and maybe with the exclusion of Jumbo Visma here this year, because I can't really understand their tactics where they're still keeping Sepp Kuss in the top 10. But we're typically seeing in the post-Armstrong era, teams set up around one rider who's leading the team. Domestiques will ride themselves to a halt in the mountains, and then they'll pull off where they can hardly turn a pedal stroke anymore. How is this working where he knows winning the Tour, but you're in a supporting role, but still able to hang on for second overall?
But we weren't. It was still similar racing at that time. I mean, I said the other teams had one leader. How many teams really have two Tour de France, potential Tour de France winners, and almost the same? Honestly, Guimard had 3 Tour de France winners at the same level. Hinault, Fignon are at really 3 Tour de France winners out of one team. Very, very rare. So if you thought about it from a sponsor's perspective, it's a safe bet. Having 2 riders who can win the Tour or the Giro, although at one point somebody's going to have to make that sacrifice, but it doesn't guarantee that you pick that one leader that he's going to be at the best that year. What would you have better have, me on Renault against Hinault, or me with Hinault on tap on La Viclaire at the time? That was a smart move because I think if I stayed with Renault in '85, I would have won. But at the time, I got paid there to go help him win his. I got paid handsomely. I got paid to help him win his 5th Tour as long as he was the best. As long as he was the best. If he wasn't, I was given a free open cart to go for the Tour win. That was the difficult thing because he was better than me in the first week and a half, 2 weeks. He was. I had some not great days that Tour, but I kept feeling better and better. And then the stage into Luz Ardidan, I went with Roach on the Tourmalet, and by the time we got to the foothill, I think we were 3 or 4 minutes up on him. I wasn't certain. I only learned that after the stage. But I think we might have been as high as 4 or 5 minutes up. I waited for him and still finished 2.5 minutes up. And when I give my word, I give my word. I don't break contracts. I stick to agreements. And as upset I was with the team, Hinault said he would work me for the next year. The next day, he was getting dropped in low beast when Roche won. And I literally pushed him up the Tour. And so knowing that, I really did allow him to win, but that's what I said I would do. And I would have been able to win the Tour. I believe I would have been able to win that Tour if Coakley wasn't in charge of the team. I would have won that day or been on the top place in Luzardi Dan, and I would have had 4 minutes on Hinault. It wouldn't have been Hinault holding me back. It was the team. That's who I was upset with. So in
So we're heading into
'86,
86, and then we have this, so much has been made of this promise from Hino to say next year it's your turn in 86. Is there truth in that? Did he say that?
oh yeah, I mean, even in an interview I saw, I don't know, somebody said there was a new documentary in France. And I saw an interview with 2 or 3 weeks before the '86 tour, and he said, "Oh yeah, great, he's going to, I'm going to work for him." I know he went to Columbia and had a good, he came out of the really good shape, and he, but I know that there was more. Imagine that he was a five-time Tour de France winner, and Bernard Tapie, if people knew who he was like a Trump. I mean, egomaniac, you know, scary, powerful, actually. And I imagine he's telling, screw LeMond, forget, yeah, and I look back, I go, yeah, I could see it because he had had a chance to be the one time, he'd have been the only six-time winner of the Tour de France, and I think he could have won it that year if he was that good. And so, uh, 3 days before the tour, I think maybe at the tour, he was asked, about the leadership, and he said, "Well, the leader's going to take place after the leader will be the one who wins the time trial, the first one." And I'm like, "Are you?" I didn't say anything to him, but I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I can't believe that change." And the crazy thing, even if that was the case, he won the time trial only because I had a flat tire and a broken wheel. I would have won that time trial. But what I didn't know, there was a whole collusion between the riders, Tapi and the stage in Depot that we went to the Pyrenees at that point. We were basically same time on the uh, uh, at the
How deep into
GC.
the race was this? Because so you took the
This is like,
jersey on stage 17, and then the first I remember, maybe your recollection is different, but from looking at the videos, I remember Hino attacking the day after on stage 18. And I remember kind of asking my dad like to explain what the hell was going on in these videos because I, with my basic cycling knowledge, couldn't understand what the hell was happening.
well, the real drama was the stage from I forgot where it started to Po, and we went over the Mary Blanc. And there's a one rule in cycling: you don't attack in the feed zone. And we're all together. And when I look back, that day I remember looking at our riders, Jean-François Bernard and a couple of riders talking to Reynolds' team. Now Ben Esto, now whatever the transition of that team is, but Ben Esto Reynolds with Delgado. And right, so we're just cruising along. Just right before the feed, somebody attacks through it, and it's kind of chaos. But I'm kind of going, okay, it'll just slow down. I grab my musette, I get out, and a couple kilometers, the peloton's kind of stopped. Okay, and everybody's drinking and all that. We go for 20 Ks like that. I assume everybody's together. The whole peloton's together. And then the chalkboard comes back, and there's Delgado, I forgot who else, Cabestany, something like that, almost 4 or 5 minutes up in a breakaway. And I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And I literally freaked out. And how could I chase down Hinault by myself? I couldn't do that. 3 or 4 minutes, I would have been killed chasing down the yellow jersey. And
what's going on in the
so,
team? Is the team split into two camps where it has Camp LeMond and Camp Hino inside the team, or are you all pulling together?
well, at that time, I thought we were pulling together, and but nobody tell me what happened. All I knew was that Hino was in front, and there was no effort to kind of pull him back. Of course, the team's not going to chase him down. Anyways, we went up the Murray Blanc, and then 20 Ks to go. There's a small climb before Po, and I'm like, it was 6 or 7 minutes at this point. I'm like, screw it. I got to take back a couple minutes. I got to keep it limited. So I attacked. I think I took Lucha Herrera with me. Um, it was only a five-man group at that point, anyways, that I was with, maybe 10 or 15, I can't remember. And I pulled back 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes in Po. Then Hino found out I was riding with Lucha Herrera. We almost got in a fist fight at the end of the stage. That still gave him a 5 minute lead, but that was his knockout stage. He thought he had it. He had me wiped out, and that night I decided it's over. No more friendship. And I knew the next day I had to take back as much as I could. And I took back 5 minutes. his ego was so great that he just thought he was that much stronger, and he attacked on the descent of the Tourmalet, and I was so happy that he was out there by himself. He had a couple-minute lead at one point, but we caught him at the bottom of Super Vanier, and I brought back that 5 minutes. But it was that day after Pro that the team stopped talking. But years later, I just recently, they did a documentary with Hinault of that tour, and Jean-Francois finally came out and admitted that, yeah, they colluded, possibly exchanged money with the Reynolds team during that feed to isolate me. And so he said, no, I'm glad that he talked about it, because he said it was clear it was a mind game on Greg. It was kind of, that was the difficult thing, was imagine having a friend, a person you admired like a brother, the deception and not being transparent about it. It would be like, yeah, I'm going to work with you, um, and then not. And at one stage, just before I took the yellow jersey on the Col de Granon, we had a stage finish in Gap, and there was massive side winds, and Hinault kept, attacking into echelons and breakaways, and I would follow, but you couldn't cover every one of them. And all of a sudden, he got away, and everybody stopped again. I was isolated, and I thank Robert Miller to this day. I said, Robert, get your team to work, Panasonic. I will give you the stage if you're next to me in a mountain stage. And he got his team to chase. We caught him. Otherwise, he'd have taken another 2-3 minutes on me. And at the end of that day, I had packed up my suitcase and I had walking out the door. I said, I'm done. I'm not doing this race anymore. And Tappy and Coakley came at me yelling, you can't do this. I said, yes, I can. I'm done. Unless you actually, I can't do this anymore. Don't worry. Okay, we'll fix it. Hinault race for you. And so, so Hinault, the next day he gets dropped at Musard. I take the yellow jersey. And then on L'Alpe d'Huez, he attacks on the descent. I try to follow a couple of times, and it's kind of like you don't just follow and chase your teammate down, but he gets away, and everybody stops, kind of in this flatter section, and I got to the Col de Telegraph. It's about a kilometer climb, and Coakley came up and said, "You cannot ride," because I was with Urs Zimmerman. "You cannot ride with anybody. You cannot do it." And I'm 200 meters from the top of the Telegraph, still at 1 kilometer. And I got so pissed. I attacked as hard as I could, sprinted. I could hear Zimmerman almost losing the first turn. I descended so fast that I caught the break. It was 2 minutes up at the bottom of the Telegraph, and caught the group. I shocked Hinault. I just went right by him and just said, "Let's go," because we isolated Zimmerman. During that stage, I was dropping Hinault on the Col de Granon. He said, "No, just my knee's hurting. Let me pace. I'll set the pace. We'll, ride my pace, and if so, you save yourself for Zimmerman." Okay, great. At the bottom in the valley between the Col de Fer, I think it is called Le Fer, and L'Alpe d'Huez, Cappy came up and said, "You've won the Tour, Greg. This is Hinault's last last tour. Why don't you let him lead up the tour?" And L'Alpe d'Huez. I was actually concerned about safety, for my own safety. Like Merckx got punched on Puy de Dôme in the 70s. I was actually very nervous about that. And I was like, okay, great. Let him win the stage. I've never gone up to L'Alpe d'Huez so easily. It was like a training ride. And but when we got done with that stage, he said, "No, the race isn't over till the time trial." So he kept moving the goalposts. And
because you have that picture
pissed.
from, I think Graham Watson, the famous sports photographer, has a picture from the third last corner, which, if anyone hasn't ridden Alpe d'Huez, it's probably 1.52 kilometers from the top of Alpe d'Huez. And it's a brilliant picture because it captures clearly those facial expressions. You can see the two of you guys looking up to the next switchback, the Alps in the background. But I don't know, you can read so much into a photograph like that, but it doesn't at that point look like a friendly relationship. He looks like he's riding a little bit more than tempo. But then you fast forward a couple of kilometers and you guys are arm in arm coming across the finish line and you give him the stage. Is there meaning in that embrace, or is that totally just for the cameras?
No, it was what Tappy wanted, but for me it was relief that the race was over. But the mountain's over. I'm not going to have to race against Hinault, and I was more relieved that it was over. And then in the interview right after that stage, and he said, "No, it's not over till the time trial." And I'm like, I wish you would have said at the bottom, because honestly, I was so much better than he was that day. I would have dropped him so easily on an Alpe d'Huez. I said that. I said that into my mind on doing the interview. You son of a bitch. Why didn't you see that the bottom of the left was? But the crazy thing, what made it I mean, next teammate of his, Bernard Valet, I found out that he would be willing to take me down, crash me out of the race. And then in the time trial, the time trial, a guy that I knew, Hinault knew, was a bike importer distributor, and he asked the co-director Maurice Ligio to mechanically cause me to fail in the time trial. And when I crashed, my wife assumed that's what happened. And Maurice Ligio, he was so disgusted with this person and the behavior of Hinault. It was Hinault's right-hand man. He didn't talk to him for like 20 years. It was a very stressful tour.
So if you like this video, you should definitely check out this video because I know you're going to love it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.